folks, I'm Kathy Gutierrez, and this is Classlet number 1 on Hopeful Monsters, and thank you all for joining me. Today, I thought we would talk about the very unlikely story of how Charles Darwin helped shape criminology and the religious movement of spiritualism. Spiritualism was begun in America in 1848 with the idea that you could continue talking to the dead in much the same way that you could send a telegraph over long spaces of time instantaneously. So the idea that you could have basically a telegraph to heaven was not that wacky in the years immediately following the revolution in communication that was the telegraph. So, what do these three things have to do with each other? Well, we're not going to get to criminology today, but it's coming in the rest of the Classlet. In 1859, Darwin published On the Origin of Species, which had a couple of shots heard around the world. First, of course, is evolution, the idea of evolution, and the function of evolution, the way it functions, is through the process of natural selection. I think currently when most people think about Darwinian theory and religion, they think about the huge chasm between the two today, because there are a number of people who have a hard time embracing evolution as a biological law. There are a couple problems with this from a religious perspective. If you believe that the Bible is literally historically true, then evolution contradicts the creation of Adam and Eve. And secondly, for reasons that personally baffle me, some people seem bothered by the fact that we are descended from monkeys. Anyway, yeah, whatever. I personally have never met a monkey I found particularly offensive, but what else? Okay, however, but today's story is about the flip side, and these are the very progressive Protestants who immediately embraced evolution, pretty much the moment that Darwin hit the stand, although they generally did this for the wrong reason. Now, natural selection is about mutation, right? Natural selection is about something is born slightly differently than the previous model, and it works better in its current environment. So Darwin, in fact, called natural selection, the products of it, hopeful monsters. Right, so a monster, right, some weird mutation that is actually going to do better in the current environment. You need to live long enough to reproduce as often as possible, and whatever mutation helps you do that is what gets selected. Okay, so that is random luck, basically, because our environment's always adapting. But it's not progress. However, a lot of people thought that evolution and progress were coterminous. You get a couple branches of this. On the one side, you have the manifest destiny folks. The idea here is all sorts of unwholesome shenanigans happened in the name of this. The idea here is that if my culture or race or whatever is still existing, you have to excuse my dog Zoe, that is her squeaky toy in the background, that if my culture is still here and yours is dead, that's because mine is better, right? The whole idea of survival of the fittest comes warped through some people's readings as survival of the best. And that went to, justify a host of, hideous atrocities. However, the other side of that is that progress is inherent in human nature, right? That progress is what human beings do, and what all of the natural order does. And that really opens the door for very inclusive views in some religions, where since no one is perfect and we're all getting better all of the time, in theory, then this idea can be projected onto heaven with the idea that we just continue to progress after we die. Right? And spiritualists absolutely believed this. They thought that dropping dead was just the first part of the story. Now, I'm going to show you a diagram that goes from, this is a spiritualist diagram, that goes through the basic ideas of progress. Right? Everybody see that? I know we have some class of 2005ers who are planning on taking the Classlet. Hey guys! And that should be pinging the Platonic ladder to you, and that is because it is. Plato, way back, says that things go from the most concrete state to the most abstract state. In his case, right, from stuff through art and math and ideas to philosophy, right, the love of wisdom. So this idea in spiritualism gets projected through heaven. There are generally 7 tiers of heaven, and as you go through the tiers of heaven, you get better. Okay? You get more spiritual, you get more refined, etc. Okay, so how do these two come to work together? Well, there are many different theories, 19th century theories, that promote this idea of permanent progress. But you remember, probably, that there was a guy who also had figured out natural selection, and that the only reason Darwin actually published when he did was because he had to beat this guy to publish it. Well, that guy, his name was Alfred Russel Wallace. 1 L on the Russell, 2 L on the Wallace. I don't know why. Anyway, but he is this very cute Santa-looking guy. So that's the guy who is not Darwin. Well, Mr. Wallace was a very impressive scientist in his own right, and he was a late convert to spiritualism. And he is one of the main places where we see the idea of evolution projected into the afterlife. I recently did a book review for the journal Nova Religio on this fine book, which gave me a great, this is Tatiana Contu, Spiritualism and Women's Writing, highly recommend. And she does a lot with Wallace, and I'm picking up a lot of her main themes here for this conversation. So, this idea that we are always evolving, and that this, you can keep track of that, basically, through seances and talking to dead people as they go through the 7 tiers of heaven. So that's what today's reading is about. Progress, evolution, and the afterlife. Oh, now what do you know? My dog Zoe just showed up. Come on, Zoe. Come on. She's sneezing at me. There we go. This is Zoe. And she is, of course, already perfect. So we don't need to worry about that with her. All right, folks. Enjoy the Classlet. I look forward to seeing your comments. And I'll be writing in this week. All right? Thanks. Bye.